ओके। अब लेट मी चेक ऑन यूट्यूब की ये स्ट्रीम हो रहा है कि नहीं। वेयर इज माय ओके, थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू श्रेया, आई एम लाइव। नहीं चाहिए मुझे। Okay, hi everyone. I'm so sorry. Again, these are technical issues which I am actually bad at. I'm technically handicapped. So, half of my sessions are not happening because of my technical problems which I face. Just give me a moment. Just give me a moment. Just let me open your. Uh, I know it is little irritating for you guys, but sorry, I can't help it. I am actually technically handicapped. Chalo. So let's begin with the revision of Gynae. Now, in Gynae, first of all, I am going to revise with all of you cancers, because cancers is very, very important, right, for your Neet PG exam. And in cancers, it is cancer cervix, extremely important. It is ovarian cancer, which is extremely important. I will also be taking up parts of endometrial cancer and vulval cancer, right? Now, when it comes to cancer, first of all, let's talk about cancer cervix. After doing cancers with you, in the next section, I am doing contraception, and then we are going to take up every other topic related to gynae, which is important. I don't know how long this session is going to take. It might take me 4 hours, 5 hours, I don't know. So I have the entire night for you people. You can also stay here for the entire night and we can revise gynae at least one night. We can take it that this is a night which is dedicated to gynae. Okay? Now, coming to most common type of cancer cervix, you all know that the most common type of cancer cervix is squamous cell cancer, and the second most variety is adenocarcinoma. Now, when it comes to adenocarcinoma, please remember that normally the cancer cervix, the most common site for cancer cervix is transformation zone, right? This is what you have to remember, and I'm sure all of you remember that. But when it comes to adenocarcinoma, right? Adenocarcinoma, if they ask you what is the most common site, so who's going to tell me what's the most common site for adenocarcinoma? Don't say it is transformation zone. It's not transformation zone, right? What is the most common site for adenocarcinoma? Excellent, Ashima. It is endocervix. The most common site for adenocarcinoma is endocervix, right? Then what is the adenocarcinoma is more common in? In which category of females is adenocarcinoma more common? So adenocarcinoma is more common in young females, and adenocarcinoma is more common in OCP users. All of us know that most common risk factor for cancer cervix is HPV, and normally it is HPV 16 which is most common for cancer cervix. But if they ask you specifically that which HPV is responsible for cancer cervix, squamous cell cancer of cervix, it has to be 16. And if they ask you which HPV is more commonly associated with adenocarcinoma of the cervix, which HPV is most commonly associated with adenocarcinoma? Excellent, Anmesha. It is HPV 18. HPV 18 is the most commonly associated with adenocarcinoma. Then they can ask you, what is the most common symptom of cancer cervix? Please do not say postcoital bleeding is the most common symptom. It's not the postcoital bleeding. It is most common symptom is irregular bleeding. Most specific symptom is postcoital bleeding. In this FMG exam, it was asked that what is the most common cancer which is found in females. Now, whenever they ask you a question, which is the most common cancer seen in females, do not jump to the cancer cervix. Please remember that the most common cancer seen in females still is breast cancer. It's not cancer cervix. right? What is the most common cause of death in cancer cervix? It's renal failure. What is the most common age group for cancer cervix? It's 35 to 39 years, that's one age group, and 60 to 65 years is the second age group, right? What is the most common route of spread in cancer cervix? This is an answer which I want all of you to change in one touch. The most common route of spread in cancer cervix is direct spread. Please change your answers from lymphatic spread to direct spread, right? So if they ask you what is the most common route of spread in cancer cervix, right, I have made you write in one touch, it is lymphatic spread, but this answer has changed and it is direct spread, right? Okay. Now, coming to risk factors for cancer cervix. Risk factors for cancer cervix, they are, number one, all of you know, it's HPV. Then early age of coitarchy, that is early age of intercourse. How much early? 18 years of age. Early age of first pregnancy. Multiple partners, multiparity, HIV, low socioeconomic status, smoking and OCPs. Now they are going to give you a list of the risk factors and they are going to ask you, all of the following are risk factors related to cancer cervix except. Us except में please remember familial inheritance. Cancer cervix does not have any familial inheritance, right? And number two, there is no role of early menarche and late menopause. Familial inheritance and early menarche and late menopause are risk factors which are related to endometrial cancer and ovarian cancer. They are not related to cancer cervix. So जब भी question आएगा, all of the following are risk factors related to cancer cervix except के answer में you are going to get this familial inheritance and you are going to get early menarche and late menopause, right? Early menarche and late menopause means that they are talking about estrogen related cancer and cancer cervix is not an estrogen related cancer. Clear? Okay. Then coming to HPV, you have to know about the HPV virus, about the viral proteins. Which viral proteins are responsible for viral replication? E1 and E2 are responsible for viral replication. E6 is responsible, E6 and E7 are responsible for malignant transformation. I'm sure all of you know this. The PDF of this session has been uploaded on the CTG group and it is also uploaded on the SSS Telegram group, right? Then L1, so E6 is the one which is going to knock out the P53 gene and E7 is the one which is going to knock out the retinoblastoma gene. Both of them are required for malignant transformation and L1 capsid protein, many times this question has been asked. L1 capsid protein is used for making HPV vaccines. What are the cancers related to HPV? Please remember, there are total 6 cancers related to HPV, in which in females it leads to cancer cervix, vulval cancer and vaginal cancer. In males it leads to oral cancer, penis cancer and anus cancer, right? Then what are the low risk subtypes of HPV? HPV 6 and 11 are low risk subtypes of HPV and they are the ones which lead to genital warts. What is the other name for genital warts? Condyloma acuminata. And if they ask you what is the drug of choice for treating genital warts in pregnancy, who is going to tell me what is the drug of choice for treating genital warts in pregnancy? This will be remaining on YouTube. I'm not going to remove it till the exam is not over, right? Tell me which is the drug of choice quickly. Which is the drug of choice related to a drug of choice for genital warts in pregnancy? ड्रग ऑफ चॉइस पूछा है बेटा, मैंने क्रायोथेरेपी नहीं पूछा है. ड्रग ऑफ चॉइस. क्रायो इज अ प्रोसीजर. यू कैनॉट से इट्स द ड्रग ऑफ चॉइस. नो साहिल, इट्स नॉट इम्यूक्यूनॉट, इट्स नॉट TCA. Who was the one who answered TCA? It's TCA, trichloroacetic acid. That is the drug of choice for treating genital warts in pregnancy. Remember that, and this was a question which was asked in very recent FMG exam as well, right? Now, High risk subtypes में I'm sure all of you should know and you should remember the 9 subtypes which are used in Gardasil 9 vaccine. उन 9 subtypes में से 7 are high risk subtypes. What are they? 16, 18, 31, 33, 45, 52 and 58. So HPV 16, 18, 31, 33, 45, 52 and 58. Now, coming to HPV vaccines. HPV vaccines के बारे में I want all of you to remember Gardasil 9. Gardasil 9 में what are the HPVs against which Gardasil 9 is protective? You have to remember that it is protective against HPV 6, 11 and the 7 high risk subtypes. What all cancers can Gardasil 9 protect? It can protect against all 6 cancers plus genital warts. Please remember that India has now made its own cancer cervix vaccine which has come by the name of Sarvavac. Very, very important. Very, very important. Right? Yes, in FMG exam they did not give trichloroacetic acid because they did not ask drug of choice. They asked you treatment for genital warts in pregnancy. Treatment for genital warts in pregnancy अगर पूछा जाएगा it's cryosurgery. Drug of choice पूछा जाएगा तो it is trichloroacetic acid. I hope I've cleared the confusion, right? Now coming to Sarvavac vaccine. Sarvavac vaccine, it's a quadrivalent vaccine. You have to remember that. It is active against HPV 6, 11, 16 and 18 and this is being prepared in Serum Institute of India, Pune. Please, very, very important about HPV vaccine is that HPV vaccine can be given to HIV positive females. HPV vaccine can be given to sexually active females and HPV vaccine can be given to females who have HPV infection. Why? Because there is no need for HPV DNA testing before the vaccine. So you don't have to test for HPV DNA before giving the vaccine. That means this vaccine can be given to females who have HPV, who are HPV positive. Plus, you can give these vaccines to males also. Rather, you should be giving to boys also to prevent them from anal, penis and oral cancers. Right? What is the age group for giving HPV vaccine? The age group for giving HPV vaccine is 9 to 26 years. In high risk females, it can be given between 27 to 45 years as well, and that is why I am saying it can be given to sexually active females also, because between 27 to 45 years a female has to be sexually active, right? Now if they ask you what is the ideal age for giving HPV vaccine, ideal age for giving HPV vaccine 11 to 12 years. Remember that, right? Everything related to HPV vaccine is important. In which condition is HPV vaccine contraindicated? It is contraindicated in pregnant females, right? Normally, till now, what was the schedule for HPV vaccine? Till now, it was being said that if a female is less than 15 years of age, you have to give 2 doses of HPV vaccine. And if she is between 15 to 26 years of age, you have to give 3 doses. राइट ये याद रखोगे कि अभी तक क्या था, लेस देन 15 ईयर्स में 2 डोजेस, 15 टू 26 ईयर्स में 3 डोजेस. याद रहेगा सबको? यस. नाउ अब क्या चेंज हुआ? नाउ WHO SAGE recommendation has come, and again this is a very very important question. This is WHO's SAGE recommendation. WHO का सेज रिकमेंडेशन कहता है कि between 9 to 20 years you have to give 1 or 2 doses. So between 9 to 20 years 1 or 2 doses, and more than 21 years पे 2 doses. Only in HIV positive 3 doses. So I'm repeating it again. This is an area where you get confused, right? So please note this down very properly. Till now, the dosage schedule was that in females who are less than 15 years, you had to give 2 doses at 0 months and 6 months. And between 15 to 26 years, you had to give 3 doses, 0 months, 2 months and 6 months. Now the dosage schedule is that it is WHO SAGE recommendation, and WHO SAGE recommendation says that if a female is between 9 to 20 years, you have to give 1 or 2 doses. If she is more than equal to 21 years, 2 doses. And if she is HIV positive, then only you have to give 3 doses. Clear to all of you? Everything related to HPV vaccine, very, very important. I will be talking more about cancer cervix, but just now I am doing only the risk factors and general points of all cancers. So I am talking about endometrial cancer. Now, in endometrial cancer, again they ask you what is the most common type of endometrial cancer. It is adenocarcinoma. Please remember adenocarcinoma, which one to follow. They will ask you WHO SAGE recommendation, then you are going to follow WHO SAGE recommendation, and that is what question specifically asks you. What is the WHO SAGE recommendation? Okay? Now, coming to endometrial cancer, if they ask you what is the most common variety is which off topic, I am so bad at reading your chats. So if you can just let me complete everything related to gynae, and then if you can ask me questions in between, that will be really great, right? Now, most common type of endometrial cancer, that is adenocarcinoma. In adenocarcinoma, please remember grade 1 and grade 2 of adenocarcinoma, they are included in type 1 endometrial cancer. And grade 3 is included in type 2 endometrial cancer. अब कौन बताएगा मुझे कि type 2 endometrial cancer में which other varieties are included? Which other varieties come under type 2 endometrial cancer? One is adenocarcinoma grade 3 comes under type 2. And which other comes under type 2? Which other types of endometrial cancer? Excellent, Sahil. It's clear cell carcinoma and papillary serous tumor. They come under type 2 endometrial cancers. Type 2 endometrial cancers have bad prognosis. Type 1 have good prognosis. Type 1 endometrial cancers, they are associated with increased estrogen. Type 2 endometrial cancers, they are not associated with increased estrogen. Type 1 endometrial cancer, it is associated with endometrial hyperplasia, whereas type 2 is associated with endometrial atrophy. Okay? Now, if they ask you what is the most malignant type of endometrial cancer, anywhere in the body, if clear cell carcinoma is present, that's the most malignant variety, followed by papillary serous tumor. What is the most common age group for endometrial cancer? 5th to 7th decade, on an average 60 years. What is the most common symptom? Most common symptom, irregular bleeding. What is most specific symptom? Postmenopausal bleeding. Now, tell me what is the most common cause of postmenopausal bleeding? अगर ये question आएगा, I am giving you 4 options. Most common cause of PMB. Option A, most common cause of PMB. Option A, endometrial atrophy. Option B, polyp. Option C, HRT. Option D, endometrial cancer. Tell me, what is the most common cause of postmenopausal bleeding? A, B, C or D? I'm getting mixed response from all of you. Please remember, the answer has changed. Abhi tak answer tha endometrial atrophy. Now the answer has become polyp. 37% cases of postmenopausal bleeding are due to polyp. Only 30% are due to endometrial atrophy. 10% are due to endometrial cancer. This is the latest answer. And if you are a Marrow student, in revision videos I have taught you this. If you are a DBMCI student, in your classes I have taught you this. Please remember, the most common cause of PMB is polyp, right? If they ask you most common cause of PMB in India, then the answer is cancer cervix, right? Overall, if they ask you what is the most common cause of PMB, postmenopausal bleeding, endometrial atrophy, right? How do you define a postmenopausal bleeding? Any bleeding which happens after menopause, any bleeding. So this definition, some of you remember a wrong definition that any bleeding which happens 6 months after menopause is postmenopausal bleeding. That's absolutely wrong definition. any bleeding which is happening after menopause is postmenopausal bleeding, right? Irrespective of the duration. Clear to all of you? Please remember, most common cause of PMB. Do not say that the answer is endometrial atrophy. That answer is not right. Now the most common cause is polyp. Second most common cause is endometrial atrophy. Are you all going to remember this? All of you? Yes? Endometrial atrophy will be the second most common cause. Most common cause is polyp. Please remember that. Okay? Now, what is the gatekeeper gene for endometrial cancer? Very, very important question. See, there are certain single liner questions which you have to remember, and in this session, I'm going to make sure that all of the important single liner questions are covered. So, when can we say it's menopause? Obviously, you can say it's menopause when there is a period of 12 months of amenorrhea, right? That is what is menopause. Okay, so what is the gatekeeper gene for endometrial cancer? P10. P10 gene is the gatekeeper gene for endometrial cancer. Now, when it comes to the risk factors for endometrial cancer is an estrogen-dependent tumor, right? Any estrogen-dependent tumor is more common in obese females. Why more common in obese females? Because androgens will get converted into estrogens in adipose tissue. तो जितना ज़्यादा adipose tissue, उतना ज़्यादा estrogen, उतना ज़्यादा chances of endometrial cancer, right? Then all estrogen dependent tumors are more common in nulliparous females, right? In primigravida females. All endometrial cancers or all estrogen dependent tumors are more common in early menarche, late menopause. Now, keeping this in mind, I have made a mnemonic over here for all of you to remember all the risk factors related to endometrial cancer, and this is something which you've done with me since very long. That is, family has old aunt, where family stands for family history, H stands for hypertension, O for obesity, L for late menopause and early menarche, D for diabetes, A for atypical endometrial hyperplasia, Un for unopposed estrogen like PCOS, HRT, granulosa cell tumor, N for nulliparity, and T for tamoxifen use. Very, very important. So tamoxifen is an SERM, and this SERM can lead to endometrial cancer. Now, a question was asked to you people that after stopping tamoxifen, pregnancy should be avoided for how long? Pregnancy should be avoided for at least 2 months and ideally for 3 months after stopping tamoxifen. Please remember that, right? Very, very important. Clear to all of you? So pregnancy should be avoided at least for 2 months and ideally for 3 months after stopping tamoxifen. Clear? Now, if you look over here, if a female is obese, if she has hypertension and if she has diabetes. If a female is obese, if she has hypertension and if she has diabetes, then she has high chances of endometrial cancer, and this is what is called as corpus cancer syndrome. What is corpus cancer syndrome? If a female has hypertension, she is obese plus she is diabetic, then there are high chances of endometrial cancer, right? Now, what is the investigation of choice for endometrial lesions? What is ma'am, is tamoxifen teratogenic? Yes, tamoxifen is regarded as teratogenic. Now, what is the investigation of choice for endometrial lesions? Investigation of choice for endometrial lesions is endometrial biopsy. Please remember, either it will be written as endometrial biopsy or जो तुम लोग आंसर कर रहे हो ना TVS, beta, that is the first investigation to be done, right? It is TVS, right? But it is not the investigation of choice. Investigation of choice for endometrial lesions is endometrial biopsy. Instead of endometrial biopsy, it can also be written as endometrial sampling, right? Or endometrial cytology, endometrial aspiration cytology. a very important question is, please remember, for performing endometrial biopsy in developed countries, we have special instruments which are called as Vabra aspirator and a pipelle. But in India, we use Carmen's cannula for performing endometrial biopsy. So one time in the Neet exam, they had shown image of Carmen's cannula and they had asked it is used for all of the following purposes except, and one of the options was endometrial biopsy. Many students marked the answer as endometrial biopsy. Please remember, in India, we are doing endometrial biopsy with the help of Carmen's cannula. Gold standard investigation is fractional curettage and hysteroscopy. Fractional curettage plus hysteroscopy. Just in case fractional curettage is not given, then in the options search for dilatation and curettage. Right? Now, question. If your question says that a perimenopausal female comes to you with AUB, now what is the age group of perimenopausal female? According to Indian standard, please remember perimenopause क्या होता है? 5 years before menopause. In India, the age of menopause is 47 years. So 5 years before menopause becomes roughly around more than 40 years. Any female who's more than 40 years is perimenopausal in India. Whereas according to ACOG, American College of Obstetrician and Gynecologist, in developed countries, the age for menopause is 51 years. Menopause is 51 years in developed countries. So 5 years before that becomes 45 years. In India, the age of menopause, India में menopause की age कितनी है? 47 years. Right? So in India, menopause in India, 47 years. So perimenopause in India is 40 years and perimenopause according to American College of Obstetrician and Gynecologist is 45 years. Right? Now, why am I stressing on perimenopause? Any perimenopausal female who comes to you with bleeding and they ask you that what are you going to do next? Whenever a perimenopausal female comes to you with bleeding, number one, you are going to do a urine pregnancy test. Number two, you are going to do a TVS, and along with the TVS, you have to do endometrial biopsy. Any perimenopausal female coming to you with bleeding, you have to do these 3 steps: urine pregnancy test, TVS, and endometrial biopsy. Right? Now, if your question says a postmenopausal female comes to you with PMB. Now, if the female is a menopausal female or a postmenopausal female who's come to you with PMB and they ask you what is the next step is TVS. Urine pregnancy test doesn't make any sense. You are going to do TVS and you are going to measure the endometrial thickness. If endometrial thickness is less than 4 millimeters, right, in that case, you are going to advise tranexamic acid. Advise tranexamic acid to the patient, right? And if her endometrial thickness is more than equal to 4 millimeters, agar endometrial thickness more than equal to 4 millimeters hai, then only you have to do endometrial biopsy. Please remember this. Perimenopausal age group में हर female में you have to do endometrial biopsy. Every female, right? But once a female attains menopause and if she is having bleeding after attaining menopause, then you don't have to do endometrial biopsy in every patient. Then you have to do endometrial biopsy only if endometrial thickness is more than equal to 4 millimeters, right? Now, suppose the endometrial thickness is less than 4 millimeters and you have given tranexamic acid to your patient thinking that the bleeding would stop. But the bleeding did not stop, right? A menopausal age group में I am not giving any hormones. Menopausal age group में treatment के लिए what am I giving? Tranexamic acid. Now, after giving tranexamic acid, if patient continues to bleed, Now they ask you what is the next step. देखो, in OBGYN, next steps are very, very important. So now your question is saying कि endometrial thickness less than 4 millimeters, tranexamic acid दे दिया, but still your patient continues to bleed. What is the next step? So some of you are saying progesterone, some of you are saying endometrial biopsy. Excellent Captain Dr. Ranveer. Now अगर आपको bleeding मिल रही है, I am suspecting cancer, right? And if I am suspecting cancer and endometrial thickness is less than 4 millimeters, I cannot do endometrial biopsy. I am going to go for fractional curettage plus hysteroscopy. So whenever your patient continues to bleed in this case, please do not say I'm going to do endometrial biopsy because thickness is less than 4 millimeters. You are going to do fractional curettage plus hysteroscopic directed biopsy, right? Now suppose I had done endometrial biopsy and the report is saying endometrial hyperplasia without atypia. Now what is the next step? Endometrial biopsy report is telling you that there is endometrial hyperplasia without atypia. Endometrial hyperplasia without atypia can be simple or it can be complex. If it is simple, then the chances of malignancy are 1%, and if it is complex, chances of malignancy are 3%. बहुत कम chances है malignancy के. So, अगर बहुत कम chances है malignancy के, am I going to do hysterectomy? No. I am going to give her a drug which has anti-proliferative action. Right? So, I am going to give progesterone. Clear to all of you? Yes. This progesterone you can either give in the form of Mirena or you can give in the form of oral progesterone. Right? ये जो oral progesterone देना है, either you can give it continuously or you can give it cyclically. I would prefer to give it continuously. But if I am giving cyclically, for how many days should I be giving progesterone minimum so that it has a protective effect on endometrium? Right? To have a protective effect on endometrium, for how long am I going to give progesterone? Minimum for how many days should I be giving progesterone? Minimum you have to give progesterone for 10 to 12 days. Minimum you have to give it for 12 days. Better answer 12 days. Range 10 to 12 days. Right? Okay. Now, next question. If your endometrial biopsy report shows, endometrial biopsy report is saying that there is endometrial hyperplasia with atypia. Now, when there is endometrial hyperplasia with atypia, then if it is simple, the chances of malignancy are 8%, right? And if it is complex, the chances of malignancy are 30%, right? So, right, 30%. Yes, you have to give for 12 days every month. Every month you will have to give for 12 days, right? Okay. I'll just change, sorry beta, I'll just change over here. This answer, it is not 10 to 12 days. Please write it for 12 to 14 days. It's 12 to 14 days. Yes, you people are right. It's 12 to 14 days. And best answer being 12 days. It's 12 to 14 days, best being 12 days. Right. Now, endometrial hyperplasia with atypia. If it is simple, the chances of malignancy 8%. If it is complex, chances of malignancy 30%. Right? So 100% I have to do hysterectomy. So best management is total abdominal hysterectomy. But before I perform hysterectomy, I have to be very, very sure that this is endometrial hyperplasia and not cancer. Right? Because if it is cancer, I don't just have to do hysterectomy, right? So how am I going to be very sure that there is no cancer? Because I will be doing fractional curettage plus hysteroscopy. So read your questions very carefully. If your question is saying there is endometrial hyperplasia with atypia, what is the next step? Next step is fractional curettage plus hysteroscopy. But if they ask you the best management is total abdominal hysterectomy. Now, if your question says that there is endometrial biopsy report is showing you a Swiss cheese pattern, what is the diagnosis? First tell me that. If your question says that endometrial biopsy report shows a Swiss cheese pattern, so if it is a Swiss cheese pattern, what diagnosis are you going to make? For a Swiss cheese pattern, what diagnosis are you going to make? If this is the report coming as. Excellent, Arya. The diagnosis is metropathia hemorrhagica. Metropathia hemorrhagica. Right? The chances of malignancy with metropathia hemorrhagica are 1%. This metropathia hemorrhagica is also called as cystic glandular hyperplasia. And metropathia hemorrhagica is basically due to an ovulation. In gynae, there is a simple rule. जो चीज कम है, whatever is missing, you give that to the patient. Now, if your patient is not ovulating, right, then that means she has no progesterone, and in order to treat her this problem, I am going to give her progesterone. So whenever your question says that there is Swiss cheese pattern on endometrial biopsy, it means you are dealing with metropathia hemorrhagica, that is cystic glandular hyperplasia, and the chances of malignancy 1%. Treatment is progesterone. Yes, it is also called as Schroeder's disease. Clear? Now, coming to ovarian cancer. Very recently in the Gynae set exam, there were 4 questions which were asked from ovarian cancer. First of all, as I said, ovarian cancer and endometrial cancer, both of them are related to excessive estrogen. So because ovarian cancer is related to excessive estrogen, risk factors for ovarian cancer are early menarche, late menopause, obesity, endometriosis, nulliparity. Right? Then it is also related to the familial inheritance like Lynch syndrome, BRCA1, BRCA2. And it is related to carcinogens like asbestos. They definitely have a role in ovarian cancer etiology. Controversial risk factors are risk factors like PCOS and HRT. In PCOS, again, if the female is obese, there is going to be excessive estrogen. HRT, if it is only estrogen HRT, definitely it can lead to ovarian cancer. Then ovulation inducing drugs. Ovulation inducing drugs are also regarded as a risk factor. It is not very sure. Why? Because there is the theory of incessant ovulation. Theory of incessant ovulation says कि जितना a female will ovulate, higher are chances of ovarian cancer. That is why in nulliparous females, ovarian cancer is more common. Why? Because nulliparity means patient did not become pregnant at all in lifetime. If she did not become pregnant at all in lifetime, none of the time has she experienced any anovulation. All during 9 months of pregnancy, a female experiences anovulation. So if a female has not become pregnant, she has never been anovulating, and because she has never had an ovulation, so that becomes her, she has been ovulating regularly, and ovulating, the more is the ovulation, more are chances of ovarian cancer, right? Now, protective factors. In every ovarian cancer, an ovulation becomes a protective factor, and an ovulation is going to be seen with multiparity, an ovulation is going to be seen with OCPs, and an ovulation is going to be seen with breastfeeding. So these become protective factors. Other than that, hysterectomy, tubal ligation, salpingectomy are proposed protective factor. We don't know whether hysterectomy, salpingectomy and tubal ligation definitely lead to protection against ovarian cancer. We don't know, right? Okay, now coming to one very important thing before I go ahead with the managements of all these cancers and important stages of all these cancers. is if you get a question that you are sitting in the OPD and a female comes to you with ultrasound which is saying there is ovarian cyst. That is, there are no features of malignancy, right? What are you going to do? So this depends on whether your question is talking about reproductive age group or whether your question is talking about extremes of age group. If your question is talking about ovarian cyst in reproductive age group, please remember in reproductive age group, ovarian cysts are generally functional cysts. We don't have to worry about them. And if the size of the cyst is 3 to 5 centimeters, just wait and watch. If it is 5 to 7 centimeters, follow it up with ultrasound. And if it is more than equal to 7 centimeters, do a surgery. Because even if there are no signs of malignancy and even if the size of the ovarian cyst becomes more than equal to 7 centimeters, there are high chances of torsion of the ovary. That is why the torsion of the cyst. That is why I am removing it. I am not removing because the more than 7 centimeters it will become malignant. No, nothing like that. There will be high chances of torsion. Please remember in reproductive age group, there is no role of CA125. Don't say that I want to check CA125 levels. You don't need to check CA125 levels. CA125 levels are important if your question is saying that the female is postmenopausal plus she has an ovarian cyst. Any ovarian cyst in a postmenopausal female, CA125 levels have to be checked, and if CA125 levels are more than 35 international units, then you should be going for surgery, right? Now, also, please remember that germ cell tumors are very common in young females. That is why whenever a young female comes to you with ovarian cyst, you should rule out all the tumor markers for germ cell tumors. What are all the tumor markers for germ cell tumors? You should rule out alpha fetoprotein, HCG and LDH. Right? These are the three major ones: alpha fetoprotein, HCG and LDH. And if they come out to be positive, then you are going to go for surgery after further investigations. Right? This is how you deal with ovarian cyst. Now coming to important stages of cancers. Yes, Jung Jagira, CA125 levels you don't see in young females, reproductive age females, because in young reproductive age females, generally also they are raised in conditions like endometriosis. Right? Okay. Now coming to important stages of cancer. Just give me 2 minutes. I'll get water for myself. You also take water. I'm just getting water. Yeah, just give me a moment. Right. Okay. This is not my usual time to wake up. Right? I'm asleep by this time. Normally I am an early riser. Oh, so coming to important stages. Now in important stages, when to start plotting partogram 4 centimeters or 5 centimeters. Now with the labor care guide coming in, you start plotting at 5 centimeters, right? Now coming to endometrial cancer, staging. In staging of endometrial cancer, I want you to remember stage 1A and 1B. 1A means that stage 1 means if the tumor is limited to uterus. What do you mean by 1A? Less than 50% of myometrium involved. What do you mean by 1B? More than equal to 50% of myometrium involved, right? Then I want you to know stage 3A, B and C of endometrial cancer. Stage 3A, B and C of endometrial cancer, you can remember by the mnemonic Sakshi Arora, very polite lady, where S stands for serosa, A for adnexa, right? So if serosa and adnexa are involved, then that is 3A. V, very polite. So 3B means if vagina and parametrium are involved. And lady, L means if lymph nodes involved. So 3A, B and C I want you to remember. Sakshi Arora, very polite lady. Now when it comes to lymph nodes, C1 is pelvic lymph node and C2 is para-aortic lymph node. Please remember that stage 3C, share bottle मुझे भी देती जा please. Stage पानी की normal. Stage 3C is same for cancer cervix and endometrial cancer. Whether it is cancer cervix or whether it is endometrial cancer, you have to remember stage 3C is same for them. For both of them, it means that it is lymph node involvement. C1 is pelvic lymph node involvement. C2 is para-aortic lymph node involvement, right? Then comes, I don't want you to remember any other stage, then stage 4B. Stage 4B means superficial inguinal lymph nodes involved or if there is distant metastasis. So please remember, in all major gynae cancers, what are the major gynae cancers? Cancer cervix, ovary, endometrium. Cancer cervix, endometrium and ovary. In all these three cancers, superficial inguinal lymph nodes are involved in stage 4B, right? So whenever there is distant metastasis or when there is superficial inguinal lymph nodes, that means 4B. So endometrial cancer mein, I want you to remember this much. Now coming to cancer cervix. Cancer cervix mein, I want you to remember every stage of cancer cervix. Please remember, stage 1 of cancer cervix means that the cancer is limited to cervix. In stage 1, you have A and B. A का मतलब है that it is micro-invasive cancer. That is, it is not visible to normalize. Why it is not visible to normalize? It is less than 5 millimeters deep. Right? Less than equal to 5 millimeters deep. 1B का मतलब है it is visible to naked eyes. That means it is more than 5 millimeters deep. अब 1A में A1 and A2. A1 का मतलब है less than equal to 3 millimeters deep. A2 का मतलब है 4 to 5 millimeters deep. Right? This staging I want all of you to remember. Then comes stage 1B. In stage 1B, that is macroscopic cancer, where the cancer is visible to naked eyes. It is more than 5 millimeters deep. Ab depth khatam yahan pe. Now 1B1, 1B2, 1B3 are divided based on the size of the cancer. If size of the cancer is less than equal to 2 centimeters, 1B1. Less than equal to 4 centimeters, 1B2. More than 4 centimeters, 1B3. Simple. Less than equal to 2 centimeters, 1B1. Less than equal to 4 centimeters, 1B2. And more than 4 centimeters, 1B3. ठीक? Now, then coming to stage 2. Please remember, cervix के बाद cancer कहाँ आएगा? नीचे आएगा. नीचे क्या है? Vagina. So, if upper 2/3 of vagina is involved, that means it is stage 2. I want all of you to draw this diagram quickly so that you can remember the staging of cancer cervix. Right? So this over here is cancer cervix. From cervix, the cancer has come to vagina. Then you are going to call it as stage 2. Now, please remember all the ligaments which surround the cervix, they are together called as parametrium. तो laterally ये cancer कहाँ जाएगा? Laterally this cancer is going to go to parametrium. If parametrium is not involved, it is stage 2A. If it is involved, stage 2B. So please remember, they ask you this. Parametrium is involved in which stage? Parametrium is involved in stage 2B. What is the investigation of choice to know whether parametrium is involved or not? What is the investigation of choice? MRI. MRI. Right? Then comes stage 3. What do you mean by stage 3? Stage 3 means if cancer goes further down, if lower vagina is involved. Now the moment lower vagina is involved, again I divide it into A, B and C. 3C is same like endometrial cancer, lymph nodes involved. C1 pelvic and C2 para-aortic. Now you tell me, cancer कहाँ आ गया? Now the cancer has come into lower part of vagina. Now from the parametrium, where will the cancer go? Cancer will go to vaginal side walls, the pelvic side walls. So if pelvic side wall is involved, it is 3B. Pelvic side wall involved. And if pelvic side wall is not involved pelvic side wall, then that is 3A. Clear? अब बताओ, अगर कैंसर जा रहा है pelvic side wall तक, there is a very important structure which is running over here. A very very important structure, that is ureter. So अगर pelvic का side wall involve हो रहा है, that means 100% entire parametrium is involved. Without involving entire parametrium, pelvic side wall cannot be involved. This means 100% ureter is involved. So whenever they say ureter involved, then it has to be 3B. So if there is hydroureter or hydronephrosis, it is 3B. Please remember, abhi metastasis nahi hui hai. But which organ is getting involved? Kidney is getting involved. That is why the most common cause of death in cancer cervix is renal failure. Right? Okay. Now, coming to management of cancers. Stage 4 mein I told you, again just you have to remember 4B. 4B mein what is involved? Superficial inguinal lymph node involved. ठीक है? Now tell me management of cancers. In देखो ovarian cancer में I don't want you to remember staging. Vulval cancer में I don't want you to remember any staging. Right? Coming to endometrial cancer. What is the management of endometrial cancer? In endometrial cancer, you are going to do surgical staging. And in surgical staging, you have to do surgery. Which surgery? For stage 1 of endometrial cancer, TAH, total abdominal hysterectomy plus bilateral salpingo-oophorectomy. Oh. Right? From stage 2 onwards, it has to be type 2 TAH, type 2 hysterectomy. What is type 2 hysterectomy called as? Wertheim's hysterectomy. So, in case of endometrial cancer, for all endometrial cancers, you have to do surgery. In stage 1, you have to do total abdominal hysterectomy. From stage 2 onwards, it's not just for stage 2. From stage 2 onwards, you have to do Wertheim's hysterectomy. Plus, you have to go for lymph node dissection. Which lymph node dissection? Pelvic and para-aortic lymph node dissection. Except in stage 1A. In stage 1A, if the size of the tumor is less than 2 centimeters, then no lymph node dissection. If it is more than equal to 2 centimeters, pelvic lymph node dissection. Now, once in a marrow GT, it was asked that there is a tumor which is stage 1, right? and it involves less than 50% of myometrium. In the options it was given, management is TH plus BSO, TH plus BSO plus pelvic lymph node dissection. Now because they had not given the size, right, ideally they should have given the size. If it is less than 2 centimeters, I would have said no lymph node dissection. If it is more than equal to 2 centimeters, I would have said pelvic lymph node dissection. But because they didn't mention the size, I am going to take it that I am going to do a pelvic lymph node dissection. Right? Okay. Please remember, Priya, every case of endometrial cancer, you have to do pelvic and paraortic lymph node dissection. Only in stage 1A. Stage 1A means less than 50% of myometrium involved. Only in stage 1A, you have to see if it is less than 2 centimeters, no lymph node dissection. More than 2 centimeters, pelvic lymph node dissection. If nothing is given, pelvic lymph node dissection is much better than saying I won't do anything. If the size of the tumor is not given, please take it as pelvic lymph node dissection. Now, once I have done this surgery, then I have to go for post-operative therapy. Now, for post-operative therapy, the post-operative therapy of choice in endometrial cancer is radiotherapy. Right? Now, for post-operative therapy, you have to divide all your patients into 3 categories: low risk, intermediate risk, high risk. लो रिस्क का मतलब है 3 क्राइटेरिया फुलफिल होने चाहिए. स्टेज ऑफ द डिजीज शुड बी 1A, grade of the tumor should be grade 1 or grade 2, and it should be adenocarcinoma. So only if you are dealing with adenocarcinoma grade 1 or grade 2 and it is stage 1A, that is less than 50% of myometrium involved, very, very important question, then you have to go for no post-operative therapy. Please remember, adenocarcinoma grade 1 and grade 2, right, belonging to stage 1A, no post-operative therapy, right? Now, what do you call as high risk? Any tumor which is type 2 tumor. Type 2 tumor. What is a type 2 tumor? Type 2 tumor is adenocarcinoma. Right? So, any tumor which is, any tumor which is your type 2 tumor, that is, it is a clear cell tumor or it is papillary serous tumor. Not all type 2 tumors, but papillary serous and clear cell tumor. Or any tumor which belongs to stage 3 or stage 4. Right? Any tumor which belongs to stage 3 or stage 4, or any tumor which is clear cell tumor or papillary serous tumor. Any of these things. If any of these criteria are fulfilled, then it's a high risk and you give chemotherapy plus radiotherapy. Understand, low risk में nothing. High risk में chemotherapy plus radiotherapy. High risk में कौन से आते हैं? Papillary serous tumor आता है, then clear cell tumors आता है, and any tumor which belongs to stage 3 or stage 4. Right? Now, intermediate risk. Every other tumor comes in intermediate risk, right? And in this case, you have to give radiotherapy. So please remember, radiotherapy कब देते हैं? Every other tumor which is neither belonging to low risk, which is not belonging to high risk. High risk में chemotherapy plus radiotherapy, and low risk में nothing. Clear? Okay. Now, coming to management of cancer cervix. तो endometrial cancer में just remember 3 things. सर्जरी कब करेंगे? सर्जरी हर स्टेज में करेंगे. स्टेज 1 में TH प्लस BSO करेंगे, स्टेज 2 में वर्दाइम्स, एंड आफ्टर स्टेज 2 अगेन वर्दाइम्स. लिम्फ नोड डाइसेक्शन एवरी पेशेंट में पेल्विक पैरायोटिक एक्सेप्ट इफ इट इज स्टेज 1A. 1A में यू हैव टू सी द साइज ऑफ द ट्यूमर एंड देन डिसाइड. पोस्ट ऑपरेटिव थेरेपी. पोस्ट ऑपरेटिव थेरेपी कम्स, you divide your patient into low risk, intermediate risk, high risk. Low risk में stage 1A adenocarcinoma grade 1 or grade 2. तीनों चीज़ें पूरी होनी चाहिए, एंड देन दैट मीन्स नो पोस्ट ऑपरेटिव थेरेपी. If there is papillary serous or clear cell tumor or any tumor belonging to stage 3 or stage 4, chemotherapy plus radiotherapy. इसके अलावा every other tumor coming in intermediate risk. Right? Now, yes, grade 1, 2, 3 एंड स्टेज क्या होता है? स्टेजिंग तो अभी हमने पढ़ ली ना. ग्रेड का क्या मतलब है? ग्रेड का मतलब होता है, ग्रेड 1 मीन्स हाईली डिफ्रेंशिएट, वेल डिफ्रेंशिएटेड ट्यूमर. ग्रेड 2 का मतलब है मॉडरेटली डिफ्रेंशिएटेड ट्यूमर. ग्रेड 3 का मतलब है पुअरली डिफ्रेंशिएटेड ट्यूमर. हैव यू अंडरस्टूड? ओके, कमिंग टू कैंसर सर्विक्स. कैंसर सर्विक्स में रिमेंबर, अर्ली स्टेजेस में वी प्रेफर सर्जरी. Early stages में surgery is preferred. Till which stage do you prefer surgery? Till stage 2A. Till stage 2A I prefer surgery. 2A stage is divided into 1 and 2. 2A1, 2A2. So from stage 1 to 2A1 you go for surgery. Right? From stage 2B to stage 4 you go for कीमो रेडिएशन. आई एम राइटिंग दिस अगेन फॉर यू. स्टेज 1 से लेके स्टेज 2A तक सर्जरी. 2B से लेके स्टेज 4 तक कीमो रेडिएशन. राइट? अब स्टेज 2A इज फर्दर डिवाइडेड इनटू A1, A2. A1 में यू हैव टू डू सर्जरी, A2 में कीमो रेडिएशन. Please remember, surgery के लिए the size of the tumor should be less than 4 centimeters. That is why up till stage 2A, there are 2 stages जिसमें size of the tumor becomes more than 4 centimeters and you don't go for surgery. That is 1B3 and 2A2. 1B3 and 2A2 में size of the tumor is more than equal to 4 centimeters, and that is why you have to go for chemo radiation. So broadly speaking, from stage 1 to stage 2A surgery, 2B to stage 4 chemo radiation. Now stage 2A को divide करते हैं A1, A2. A1 में surgery, A2 में chemo radiation. Along with that, stage 1B3 maybe you have to go for chemo radiation, because in these 2 stages the size of the tumor becomes more than 4 centimeters. So 2A2 and 1B3 you have to do chemo radiation. Now when I am doing chemo radiation, when I say that between stage 2B to stage 4 you have to do chemo radiation, please remember, in chemo radiation I am going to use a radio sensitizer, and that radio sensitizer is cisplatin. If cisplatin is not given, then I am going to mark the answer as 5-fluorouracil. Right? Now, if suppose chemo radiation is not given in the options, and in the options you have chemotherapy, radiotherapy, do not mark the answer as chemotherapy. Mark the answer as radiotherapy. So best answer is chemo radiation, second best answer is radiotherapy. Now when it comes to surgery, I have written down the stages where you have to go for surgery. What are the stages where you do surgery? So stage 1A1, 1A2, 1B1, 1B2, 1B3 में we do chemo radiation. Then 2A1. These are the stages where we do surgery. Now which surgery? लेस एडवांस्ड से मोर एडवांस की तरफ जाना है, तो ओल्ड एज में स्टेज 1A1 के लिए टाइप 1 हिस्टेरेक्टमी. टाइप 1 हिस्टेरेक्टमी मीन्स TAH plus BSO. Then you have next for stage 1A2 type 2 hysterectomy. Type 2 hysterectomy is Wertheim's hysterectomy. And then after that, for every stage you are going to do type 3 hysterectomy. Type 3 hysterectomy is radical hysterectomy. Right? Now, when it comes to lymph node dissection, in stage 1A1, no lymph node dissection. Rest everywhere else pelvic and para-aortic lymph node dissection. ठीक है. Now, when it comes to young females, because cancer cervix can be seen between 35 to 39 years and then 60 to 65 years. So that is why it can be seen in young females. In stage 1A1, the surgery of choice for young females is conization. Conization is done in OT under general anesthesia. For stage 1A2, you can go for a procedure which is called as radical trachelectomy. In radical trachelectomy, you are removing the cervix, right? You are preserving the uterus, but you are removing the cervix, right? Now, after that, for every other stage, it is going to be the type of hysterectomy like old females. अभी जो हमने elderly females में किया था ना, old females में, whatever hysterectomy is being done there, same hysterectomy. So which hysterectomy is being done here? Type 3 hysterectomy. So here also type 3 hysterectomy. So repeat it with me. Young females में 1A1 में conization, 1A2 में radical trachelectomy, after that type 3 hysterectomy, right? Older females में 1A1 में सबसे simple hysterectomy, that is total abdominal hysterectomy. Then 1A2 में type 2 hysterectomy, and then after that every other case में type 3 hysterectomy. Type 3 hysterectomy is also called as radical hysterectomy. Have you understood this? Conization procedure का criteria, बेटा conization procedure में you have to do it only if it is 1A1 in young female. Conization is done only if it is 1A1 in young female as a management of cancer cervix. Now, what radiotherapy are you using in cancer cervix? Now, as I said, it is better to call it as chemoradiation rather than radiotherapy. This radiotherapy के लिए you are going to use this instrument which is very, very important. They can ask you this in exam. This is a tandem and an ovoid which is used for radiotherapy in cancer cervix. Now, when you are doing radiotherapy in cancer cervix, either the source can be inside the body or it can be outside the body. It can be brachytherapy or it can be teletherapy, right? Now, generally, you give teletherapy first so that the size of the tumor shrinks, and then you go for brachytherapy. When you are giving brachytherapy, you are going to select 2 points. One is a point A. Where is that point A? That point A is 2 centimeters above the external os and 2 centimeters to the left of it, right? That is point A. And what is point B? Point B is 3 centimeters to the right of point A, right? So 2 centimeters above and 2 centimeters lateral is to the external os is point A, and 3 centimeters lateral to point A is point B. These are the places where I have to focus upon because these are the areas where important structures are present, important lymph nodes are present. Right? Okay. Now, look at this question over here. This is your previous year NEET question. A 50-year-old woman presents with foul-smelling bloody discharge per vagina mixed with mucus. On examination, a necrotizing growth can be seen in the cervix involving the lateral perimetrium. What is the management? First tell me, what is the stage? Whenever parametrium is involved, what stage? Parametrium involvement means which stage? Jaldi batao. बताओ. 1B1 में generally type 3, you can also use type 2, but generally type 3. अब बताओ मुझे. Parametrium involvement means which stage? Stage 2B. 2B का मतलब क्या है? 2B का मतलब है कि from 2B to stage 4, what did I tell you the management? 2B to stage 4, management is chemo radiation. Right? How do you manage CIN? CIN1, how do you manage? CIN1 has to be followed up for 2 years. If it does not resolve, after 2 years, I am going to do cryotherapy. Cryotherapy. Right? What is the management of choice for CIN2 and CIN3? Management of choice for CIN2 and CIN3 at any age, at any parity. कोई भी एज ग्रुप दिया हो, चाहे कितनी मर्जी फीमेल मल्टीपैरा हो, if she is having CIN2 or CIN3, the only management is LLETZ or LEAP. LLETZ stands for large loop excision. Large loop excision of transformation zone. And what is LEAP? It is loop electroexcision procedure. Loop electroexcision procedure. So whenever they ask you the management of CIN2 or 3, it has to be LEAP or LLETZ. Please remember that hysterectomy is not done for CIN. So we don't do hysterectomy for CINs, right? Now, please remember, CIN is a report which you get after doing colposcopic directed biopsy. Whether I write colposcopic or whether I write colposcopic directed biopsy, it's one and the same thing. How do you perform colposcopy and what is a colposcope? Please remember, colposcope is a magnifying instrument which can visualize exocervix, which can visualize transformation zone, but it cannot visualize endocervix. Very, very important, right? Now, during colposcopy, from where all do you take a biopsy? When you are doing colposcopy, you are going to take biopsy from any rough area on cervix. Number one. Number two, you are going to take biopsy from aceto-white areas. What are aceto-white areas? They are those areas where when you will apply acetic acid, it is going to stain white in color. So whenever you apply acetic acid on the cervix, right, then in normal cases, after applying acetic acid, it remains pink. But wherever dysplasia will be present, the dysplastic cells are going to appear white in color, right? Then you are going to switch on the green filter. Again, a very, very important question. That which filter is used to visualize blood vessels? Which filter? Green filter. And which type of blood vessels will you see? You can see mosaic blood vessels, reticular blood vessels, or punctate blood vessels. Please remember, colposcopy is a diagnostic procedure and the report of colposcopy comes as CIN1, 2 or 3. Right? Now, on the other hand, when it comes to pap smear is only a screening test. It is not a diagnostic test, right? And based on pap smear report, right, I am not going to perform procedures like LEAP or LLETZ. LEAP or LLETZ I am going to perform only once my diagnosis is confirmed, which can be confirmed by biopsy and not by pap smear, right? Now, if pap smear report is saying HSIL means high squamous intraepithelial lesion. High squamous intraepithelial lesion. So, whenever your pap smear report has this term H, whether it is HSIL or ASCH, what is ASCH? Atypical squamous cells where HSIL cannot be ruled out. The pathologist कह रहा है कि I am getting some atypical cells, but I cannot rule out HSIL. In this case, you have to do, if pap smear report is showing you this, you have to go for colposcopy and biopsy. Right? If report is HSIL or ASCH, you have to go for colposcopy. Colposcopy करने के साथ साथ biopsy भी करोगे. Plus, you are going to go for endocervical curettage. Why endocervical curettage? Because endocervix cannot be seen by colposcope. Now, if report is LSIL, that is low squamous intraepithelial lesions. Low squamous intraepithelial lesion. Low squamous intraepithelial lesion में, if the age of the female is less than 25 years, you have to repeat her pap after 6 months या 1 year, and if she's more than equal to 25 years, go for colposcopy plus endocervical curettage. Now, if report is ASCUS, ASCUS means atypical squamous cells of unknown significance. So the histopathologist is saying, मुझे तो समझ ही नहीं आ रहा कि report क्या है. There are some atypical squamous cells. In that case, again see the age of the patient. If age of the patient is less than 25 years, repeat pap smear in 6 months to 1 year time. If the age of the patient is more than 25 years, now I'm going to follow it with HPV DNA testing. HPV DNA testing. Right? Whenever you are doing HPV DNA testing after an abnormal report of pap smear, abnormal report of pap smear was ASCUS. After getting this, I am doing pap smear, I am doing HPV DNA testing. This is what is called as reflex HPV testing. Now, if your histopathologist says that squamous cell में problem नहीं है, I am seeing atypical glandular cells of unknown significance. So, if you are getting atypical glandular cells of unknown significance, either it can be a cancer of the cervix. If it is a cancer of cervix, I will go for colposcopy plus I will go for endocervical curettage, right? Now, it could be कि glandular cells या जो columnar cells हैं, glandular cells is the other name for columnar cells, and all of us know that endocervix is the one which has got columnar epithelium, right? So you get adenocarcinoma in endocervix. अब अगर histopathologist is saying she is getting some atypical cells, it could be that it is cancer cervix, right? Or it could be it is endometrial cancer which has spread to cervix. Whenever endometrial cancer spreads to cervix, it becomes stage 2 of endometrial cancer, right? So it could be that it is stage 2 of endometrial cancer कि endometrial cancer cervix में आ गया है, and that is why I will have to do endometrial biopsy. Whenever you get atypical glandular cells of unknown significance, colposcopy plus endocervical curettage plus endometrial biopsy. Now, next question. The case given to you is a female has on pap smear HSIL and on colposcopy everything is normal. What is the next step? पहले तो समझो what is the abnormality. Whenever on pap smear you are getting LSIL. LSIL is equivalent to CIN1. And whenever on pap smear you get HSIL, it is equivalent to CIN2 or CIN3. Right? And as I told you, CIN is a diagnosis which is made on colposcopy. Now, if your question says that pap smear में HSIL आ रहा है, colposcopy normal है, that means there is a mismatch somewhere. Right? So, if there is a mismatch somewhere, what would you like to do? You are going to do cone biopsy. Why? Because it could be कि problem area is in the endocervix. नीचे कुछ है ही नहीं, that is why colposcopy पे कुछ नहीं दिख रहा है. So whenever there is a mismatch between pap smear and colposcopy, right, my next option becomes cone biopsy या conization. Now if a female की report आती है endocervical curettage positive, if endocervical curettage is positive, what is the next step? If endocervical curettage is positive, endocervical curettage was done to see the endocervix. And for endocervix, what is the best investigation? Cone biopsy. So, if a female has endocervical curettage positive, what is the next step? Cone biopsy. मान लो मैंने cone biopsy करी and report आ गया adenocarcinoma in situ. Now, what is the next step? अब अगर ऊपर adenocarcinoma in situ है तो I have to go with hysterectomy. Total abdominal hysterectomy. Right? Clear to all of you? So these are important cases in cancer cervix. Now, if a question comes that there is a female who has come to you with post-coital bleeding and they ask you what is the next step, Next step, whenever a female comes to you with post-coital bleeding, is per speculum examination. Per speculum examination, very, very important. Right? Now, on per speculum examination, if cervix is normal, you are going to go for pap smear. If cervix has a visible growth, you are going to go for punch biopsy. And if the cervix is firm, indurated, barrel-shaped, then you are going to say, I went for colposcopy. Right? So only if you are finding that cervix is firm, indurated or barrel-shaped, then directly you have to go for colposcopy. Otherwise, in every other case, you have to do pap smear, and only if pap smear is positive, then it will go to colposcopy. Right? Clear? Now, screening for cancer cervix. In screening for cancer cervix, what is first thing? We have two protocols. One is the WHO screening protocol and the other one is ACOG protocol. The protocol which is given by ACOG. ACOG has given its protocol for resourceful countries, whereas we are resource limited country. Now, at what age was the screening beginning in WHO program? WHO program says that the screening should begin at 30 years and it should end at 60 years. Right, that is WHO screening, and it says that you can either follow the see and treat approach or see, triage and treat approach. Right? Now, WHO screening program में WHO does not advocate pap smear. WHO कहता है कि अगर आपने pap smear किया आपको biopsy करनी पड़ेगी and that is going to waste time. So WHO says you have to go for either see and treat approach or see, triage and treat approach, which means see, triage and treat approach. इसका मतलब ये है कि WHO कहता है बेस्ट मेथड इज HPV DNA टेस्टिंग प्लस VIA. अगर ऑप्शंस में ये दोनों एक साथ नहीं हैं, then you are going to mark the answer as HPV DNA testing followed by VIA. Best answer HPV plus VIA. Second best answer HPV. Third best answer VIA. This is the investigation proposed by WHO for screening. Now, WHO का protocol क्या है कि how often should you be repeating HPV? In general population after 5 to 10 years and in HIV positive after 3 years. VIA, how often should it be repeated? 3 years. Right? Now, if HPV is positive, so as I said, best is HPV plus VIA. Now suppose I did HPV came out to be positive, I did a VIA and VIA comes out to be negative. Right? HPV is positive and VIA is negative. In this case, after how long should you be repeating HPV testing? In this case, you have to repeat HPV testing after 1 to 2 years. Right? Okay. Now, coming to ACOG protocol. ACOG protocol is for resourceful countries. Right? According to ACOG, screening begins at 21 years of age and screening ends at, WHO में screening ends at 50 years. In ACOG, screening ends at 65 years. 65 years maybe tab screening is going to end if in the past 10 years pap smear report has been normal. If there is any pap smear report which is abnormal, right, in the past 1 decade. So if any pap smear was abnormal in the past decade, then the screening has to be continued till 75 years. Then the screening should be continued till 75 years. This is what ACOG recommends. The method which is recommended by ACOG is they say you start with pap smear. Right? So WHO was saying no pap smear, ACOG is saying you start with pap smear. Pap smear should begin at 21 years of age. And this pap smear, it has to be repeated every 3 years till she becomes 30 years. So pap smear, according to ACOG, it should begin 21 years of age, right? So 21 years of age pe you have to begin pap smear, which you have to do it every 3 yearly till she becomes 30 years of age. Then you have to add HPV. Right? So then you are going to do pap smear plus HPV, which is called as co-test. This co-test has to be done every 5 years. Right? And this you are going to do till 65 years. You are going to do it till 65 years. Right? This is the protocol which WHO follows, which ACOG follows. See, I am never used to of getting so late. So I don't know even what I'm speaking. I think I'm going to continue this class at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whatever time you tell me I'll continue. But if I continue for long, I will be sleeping and I don't know what I'll be teaching you. Right? So ACOG ka protocol and WHO protocol. Now, what is the most sensitive method? HPV DNA. What is the specific method? Pap smear. When should HPV DNA testing begin? It should begin at 30 years of age, or at least the patient should be 25 years. Right? That is the time for HPV DNA testing. Right? What is the fixative which is used in pap smear? The fixative which is used in pap smear is 95% ethyl alcohol plus minus 5% ether. Right? 95% ethyl alcohol plus minus 5% ether. What are WHO goals? WHO says its goals are 90, 70, 90. Right? 90, 70, 90 का क्या मतलब है? 90% of all girls should be vaccinated by 15 years of age. 70% of females should be screened by 35 years of age. And 90% of the females who have CIN or cancer cervix, they should be treated. These are WHO goals for 2030. WHO goals for 2030. Right? So this is what you have to remember for cancer cervix. Yes, please let me sleep, because if I don't sleep, I don't know even what I am teaching. Right? I am a morning person, so let me get up in the morning and teach you. You will say to start at 8 o'clock, I can start at 8 o'clock. Tell me, what time do you want me to start? 9 a.m.? I'm okay with that. Let's begin at 9 a.m. and by 12:31 we will finish broadly. After 9 a.m. करते हैं ना, I think that is more than enough. है ना? इससे लेट करेंगे तो it will unnecessarily extend. 9 a.m. The PDF is there on CTG group and Triple S group. Right? Let's do it at 9 a.m. 9 ka let's make it at 9:15. That is broadly okay with me. Right? Let's do it at 9. Okay? Thank you so much for joining. And tomorrow morning I'm going to start with ovarian cancer ka management. Very, very important. Extremely important ovarian cancer management. Right? Thank you so much.